Tonight on Elon Local News.
Unhealthy Elon. Students still non-compliant this evening with the university's flu vaccine mandate. University physician Jeanette Archinall joins us live with reactions before Friday's deadline.
Students see struggles. An FDA panel set to meet tomorrow on vaccinating children 5 to 11. We followed up with ABSS on their COVID status and how one group of employees is helping out.
And Trick or Treat Meet, Elon University's club swim team is back with a splash, hosting their largest event since the pandemic.
All that and more.
Elon Local News starts now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Good evening and welcome to Elon Local News. I'm Chloe Franklin.
And I'm Ellis Chandler. Thank you for joining us tonight. We begin with an ENN alert. Students across campus reacted this evening to a potential increase in tuition. The Board of Trustees met at the Inn at Elon this weekend to discuss several options for increasing revenue to the university. Those included increasing enrollment, the amount students pay, or decreasing financial aid. Sources familiar with the proposal tell ENN the increase in tuition could be near 7%. That's compared to the 3.7% increase this year. But university officials remain silent this evening, leaving students with cost concerns.
That's a little scary for the fact that we have still 3 years left to pay for that. And I feel like they should, one thing that I noticed is I feel like there's not as many scholarship options, and I feel like Elon, if they are going to raise their tuition, they should implement more scholarship opportunities for students.
Freshman Kai Whiteside says he's not a fan of the increase and wishes senior staff members would warn students of potential hikes in the future.
For other people to have to pay more, including myself, it's going to be a struggle just to try and get a really good education. And I know some people come from homes that don't have enough, so even to get their child here at this moment was already a struggle. So for that to go even more is kind of crazy.
University spokesman Owen Covington tells ENN the Board of Trustees, quote, thoughtfully considered and adopted a budget for the 2022-23 fiscal year at its recent meeting. Details about that budget, including any changes in tuition, will be shared with the university community in the future.
Today marks 1 week since students returned to campus from fall break. After traveling with friends, having a more near-normal experience, some say they are ready for changes on campus. Freshman Luke Zeller says he thinks masks do not need to be worn indoors anymore, but Mackenzie Ahern says COVID-19 is still a concern.
COVID's a myth.
I was slightly concerned because I'm immune deficient, but I think it's good that we have a lot of testing, so I think we'll be fine.
Meanwhile, freshman Ava Hunter says she thinks COVID-19 is not taken seriously on campus, especially in residence halls.
It's making me kind of worried about winter break and stuff. More people are traveling and people only really wear masks in class. So I feel like in the dorms is a bigger problem because I feel like RAs aren't really mandating that.
Healthy Elon officials tell ENN the university is not considering immediate changes in its indoor mask requirement at this time.
North Carolinians are responding after the Centers for Disease Control approved booster shots, saying they'd get the extra shot. The CDC approved the booster for all adults who get Johnson & Johnson's one-shot COVID vaccine and those 65 and up who receive Moderna's vaccine, mirroring the approval of Pfizer's booster last month. 55% of respondents say they would take a booster shot when it becomes available, 25% saying maybe, 10% saying no, and another 10% saying they have already received it. There was more mixed support from adults on the question of workplace vaccination mandates, 60% saying they support, 40% disapproving. Finally, while optimism about the pandemic is lower heading into winter than it was this spring, 37.5% say that the state's rules and regulations around COVID have been, quote, not restrictive enough. Another 37.5% say they have been about right, and 25% saying too restrictive. The CDC also approved a mix and match approach, giving booster eligible people the option of getting a new dose of any approved COVID vaccine, regardless of the one they initially received, bringing skepticism, concern, and confusion.
Here now to weigh in on all of this is university physician Dr. Jeanette Archinall. Dr. Archinall, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
So as booster shots have started to get approved, all of them have been approved at this point, do you think students should be going out to get them, and if so, why?
I think everybody has to make their own decision on this. Certainly, we know that there is good efficacy just from the original doses. The recommendations for boosters aren't just for older people, it's also for anybody who's at higher risk. So that's people with immune deficiencies and people who live or work in a situation where they may be exposed to more. And that includes people on a college campus. It's not mandated, but I think everybody has to go with their own comfort level.
Sure, and we just discussed that kind of mix and match approach. So is there one shot that's kind of better than another? Should I be taking that mix and match approach, or should I be sticking with the original vaccine brand that I received maybe last spring?
Again, that is very much up to the individual. There is data supporting sticking with the same vaccine. There is data supporting a change. Some of the best data actually was with the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is the one that's used in the UK, in Australia, and some other countries. Similar sort of process to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And it was found that somebody who had had the AstraZeneca, who then had one of the messenger RNA vaccines, so a Pfizer or a Moderna as their booster dose, saw a much better response in terms of improved antibodies than they did if they had the booster of that same AstraZeneca dose. But again, it really doesn't matter. It goes back to your own comfort level. All of them work.
Definitely. And so with 8 active cases on campus, 7 students and 1 faculty member, do you think it's time to loosen some of the restrictions we're seeing on campus right now?
I think everybody would like restrictions loosened. The real problem is we're heading into, well, a couple of things. Firstly, we're only just at 2 weeks after fall break, so we may well get some more cases coming out of fall break. Secondly, we're heading into the winter cold and flu season, and we know that all viruses are going to spread in that period. Thirdly, we're heading into the holiday period, so we're more likely to have all viruses spreading at that point. And we have to remember that the mask mandate in the classrooms doesn't just protect against COVID, it protects against every other respiratory virus as well. So that's flu, it's mono, we're seeing quite a lot of mono on campus at the moment, and it's the normal coughs and colds that nobody got when we were all in lockdown, but which not just on campus, but nationwide, we're seeing a whole lot more of now that everybody has loosened some restrictions.
Sure. And Dr. Archinal, we spoke with students earlier today about how they felt on the potential requirement of boosters coming to campus, maybe this winter and this spring. So let's take a listen at what they had to say.
Sure.
If there's more studies proving its effectiveness of boosters, then yeah, I think they should. I feel like that, I don't know, as of right now, no, but maybe in the long run, yeah.
I think that actually it's probably something that's entirely necessary. If we're living in close quarters altogether, I mean, we're endangering faculty and faculty family if we don't take every precaution necessary to not get sick.
I think it should be optional. If you want to get it, go ahead. If you don't, you should do it.
So I know you are more in an advisory role, but would you advise Healthy Elon Committee to mandate the boosters for students in the spring?
At this point, I would say we need to wait and see.
For sure, definitely.
All right, and students this evening not having complied with the university's flu vaccine requirement, that number Thursday was as high as about 74%, so almost 3/4 of campus. So where are we kind of lying with that requirement now?
Well, firstly, let's not get too caught up in the percentage. You have to remember that the numbers that were shared or that were discussed don't include a lot of exemptions, including students studying abroad. And it also, the number of students who are vaccinated is not necessarily the number who have submitted proof of their vaccination. I can tell you we get lots of, and have received, lots of documentation of vaccines since the end of last week. So the numbers need to be updated every day and every half day. I think the real message from what ENN reported last week is that we still have a lot of students who aren't vaccinated. The actual percentage is less important than the fact that everybody needs to be vaccinated. We recognize that a lot of people probably didn't want to get vaccinated when the vaccine clinics were first on campus, which is why Elon now has 2 more clinics, one tomorrow and one on Friday. So anybody who wants to can be vaccinated there so long as the supplies don't run out. Also, all pharmacies are offering vaccines. Most people like deadlines, and I suspect that by the time the deadline comes, there won't be any problem with compliance.
Absolutely. Well, I know the vaccine deadline is this Friday, October 29th. So Dr. Archinal, thank you so much for your time tonight. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Anytime. Take care.
And registration is still open for the university's last student flu vaccine clinic this Friday, October 29th from 1 to 6 p.m. in Jordan Gym.
Next on ELN, how Alamance County school system is working with students as they return to the classroom.
And still to come, a look inside East Burlington and as residents facing the reality of gentrification.
From a bus driver shortage to falling AP scores, the coronavirus pandemic has left the Alamance Burlington school system facing challenges every day. But the district superintendent says there's one group of employees helping the return to in-person learning run smoothly. Our Maeve Ashbrook walks us through a district update.
Test anxiety, trouble with friends, and simply not wanting to go to class are just a few reasons Amy Witterich says students go to see their school nurse.
We've always had some of that. I think the tricky part now is kind of teasing out, what is illness and what is avoidance.
But in a COVID-19 world, a headache or runny nose doesn't mean a student can just go back to class. Witterich, the Alamance Burlington school system's lead school nurse, says it's not that her job has changed because of the pandemic, but its focus has.
All of a sudden, a lot of our work is we're not able to do other parts of our job because there's so much work involved in assessing students for symptoms, sending them home, and then the whole communicable disease follow-up piece.
I don't know what we would do without being able to have a full-time nursing position assigned to each one of our schools, which is something that we took on prior to the pandemic, and thank goodness that we did.
Instead of sitting at home on computers, ABSS students are back in person for the first time this semester since March 2020. To prepare, Superintendent Bruce Benson suggested masks be required on campus.
That's a 4-3 to retain mask at this time.
Benson says the board's decision was key to what he says has been a successful semester.
I think we're doing pretty well.
The school district serves about 22,000 students. Benson says 500 are enrolled in the Alamance Virtual School, a new online-only program for families wanting to continue remote learning. According to data from ABSS's weekly COVID-19 dashboard, 855 students have tested positive for the virus since the week of August 27th. That's about 3.9% of students across 37 schools, including the Virtual Academy. Of those schools, less than half have had over 25 cumulative cases this semester. Only 7 schools have reported a cluster of coronavirus cases. Alamance County is still experiencing high community transmission, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Witterich says the district is working hard, but COVID case counts are a reflection of the community.
I think people are often look for the schools to be a place like, what is the school doing wrong because you have COVID? Well, the school's not doing anything wrong, right? COVID's in our community.
It's the school nurse's job to call parents and tell them their child is a close contact. Benson says it adds a layer to the already complicated position.
Kids are missing 14 days of education. When you have younger students, it's impacting parents' work. And so those conversations are hard, and some families are very scared.
This month, Pfizer asked the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to approve its COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11.
What do you think that looks like if that's approved for the future of ABSS and for these elementary middle school students?
Well, I hope that it is approved. So every month the board has to vote as to whether we're going to continue masking or not. I don't think it's necessarily just about the access to the vaccine. It's also about the level of transmission in our community.
Even though it's not available for everyone yet, Benson says the more students that get vaccinated, the more normal school can become. Maeve Ashbrook, Elon Local News.
Benson announced he's stepping down from his position on January 1st, 2022, even though his contract isn't up. He declined to speak with Elon News Network about his decision, Chair of the Board of Education, Allison Gant, told ENN the board has started talking about its next steps to replace Benson, but has not made any decisions on the process it discusses now.
A Burlington neighborhood less than 10 miles from Elon's campus is seeing its streets taken over by gentrification. Our Naya Ping City has more on what that means and what exactly is going on.
Chasing ice cream trucks, riding bikes, and walking to her aunt's house. This was the life of Shirley Shaw, a longtime resident of East Burlington's Morgantown neighborhood.
When I was growing up, the neighborhood was a good neighborhood because it was all family here. But like I say, you got a lot of rentals over here now, and it's been a lot of racket over here, I just say.
In recent years, Shaw says she has noticed gentrification, the high development in older, poor neighborhoods, take over her street. There are more houses for rent and new homes being built in her backyard.
Since I'm here, I just want to stay here, and it was my parents' property, and I really want to keep it as long as I can.
The precious neighborhoods that used to be there and be so cohesive no longer exist.
Just across the street from Shaw, former mayoral candidate and Elon alumna, Donna Van Hook grew up in Morgantown too. She says she has seen the neighborhood decline in recent years, with gentrification and problems ignored by city government. East Burlington residents are also plagued by pollution from the defunct Western Electric plant, which according to state records houses high levels of dangerous chemicals.
There's a lot of talk about East Burlington, but not a lot of action, as you can see.
Shaw says she is not going to sell to the developers around Morgantown. She has two simple questions for the city of Burlington.
Why do you want to take us out of our neighborhood, that we grew up in? What are you going to do to beautify Morgantown?
Naya Ping City, Elon Local News.
To read more about this story, including a response from Mayor of Burlington Ian Baltutis, pick up a copy of The Pendulum this Wednesday.
It started to rain out here. I'll tell you if that's going to continue after this.
"20 minutes after the hour, and the rain is finally coming down. Joining us now with a live look at the weather outside is Anne-Marie Bonner under the Oaks this evening.
Anne-Marie, good evening to you.
Thanks so much, Ellis and Chloe. The rain has started to come down pretty hard out here, so it looks like that's going to continue throughout the evening as well. So if you do have some plans this evening, make sure you grab your umbrella before you head out the door. Now looking ahead to your Phoenix 5-day forecast. So looking ahead to tomorrow, it's going to be a high of 65 and a low of 44. Wednesday is going to be a high of 70 and a low of 43. And then headed into Thursday and Friday, it's going to be pretty rainy. So again, it's going to be just like it is out here with some rain coming down, especially in the evening on Thursday. And then headed into Saturday, it's not going to be too bad. Showers in the AM, overcast in the afternoon. That's it for your Phoenix 5-day forecast. Back to you in the studio.
Marie Bonner under the Oaks this evening, thank you. The search for Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie is over, but conversations surrounding domestic violence are continuing throughout this year's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Elon Senior and Student Government Association's Executive Secretary Haley Juergens wants to see more resources for students on campus.
I love Elon with my whole heart. However, it's an issue that we don't talk about enough.
Juergens has been working with the school on a gender-based violence prevention program over the last 2 years to provide students with education and access to resources. The program took place over 2 weekends, but Juergens hopes to see its impact continue.
We planned all summer long to have a set program come into place with weekly updates, communication. It was fairly successful. We got a lot of great feedback out of it and hopefully more to come.
Victims or survivors of gender-based violence can schedule a meeting with a confidential advocate or call the 24/7 Safe Line number at 336-278-3333.
Still to come, a look at Club Swim back in the pool and the Phoenix coming off another big win. Stay close. Elon Local News returns in just a moment.
Elon University's club swim team hosted its largest club sports event since the pandemic started. On Saturday, 12 schools swam in Belk Pool after a year without a single in-person meet. Elon University tied with University of North Carolina Wilmington for third place. After swimming in high school during the height of the pandemic, freshman Jack Hooper says coming to Elon and swimming with less restrictions leads to a better experience.
All be on the pool deck. We couldn't cheer on our teammates, and to be able to do that again, to be able to have a suitable environment for a swim meet is excellent and very enjoyable.
Sophomore Megan Green says she is ready to travel to other schools to compete in similar meets like the one they hosted. For her, these meets are more than just competitions.
I view it as really just a fun way to hang out with people, to get some exercise, to continue something that I loved in high school. So all of these teams here are amazing, but I know we're all cheering for each other. It's really just to form camaraderie, bond, and have some fun.
Club Swim's next meet is set to take place at the University of Georgia in November.
Elon University's football team is currently on a 3-game winning streak as the Phoenix defeated New Hampshire 24-10 on Saturday. Elon will face James Madison this Saturday. Junior linebacker Devontae Chandler says the team is confident in the improvements it is making and hopes to keep the momentum going against JMU.
I think right now we're turning in the right direction. Basically, I just say just stay consistent in what we're doing. We have the blueprint of what it takes to win, and just keep building on that each week is going to be important, and just not trying to do too much. Just everybody do their 1/11th and just keep building on that.
And from the big win Saturday, senior quarterback Davis Cheek has been named the Stats Perform FCS National Offensive Player of the Week for his performance. And Chloe, I know he just won the CAA Offensive Player of the Week for the second week in a row too, so Davis Cheek is really racking them up.
Yes, the football team has been playing pretty well these last couple of games, and I know we've had other awards as well. I know a former graduate is now playing in the NBA in Greensboro, so that's really cool as well.
Yeah, Ikenna Naduba is playing for the Greensboro Swarm. Their season starts next Friday for anyone who is looking to go out to a game and support an Elon alum.
Yes, for sure. And if you want to go to football, I think the homecoming game will be really good because of the momentum they've been having.
Absolutely. Well, that is all the news we have for you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
For all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And be sure to follow us on social media at Elon News Network.
We'll see you back here Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern for another edition of Elon Morning.
Have a great week, Elon.